want to wrap it up like on the medium level first before we enter into the panel.
Okay, great. Thank you. Just get the slides set up. Yeah, so I'm Simon Worthington from Mute. I suppose I've got a new hat. I'm one of the co-founders of Mute, and I've been doing it quite a long time. But then recently I started working at a university in northern Germany. Yeah, so I have a new hat as a research associate. Let's get the slides set up.
Where do I sit play? This is what?
Mute only has one container.
Where do I sit play?
Whatever. So, well, look, I can carry on talking through this. So I have some physical publications of the Mute itself. I'll pass some of these around. I mean, I'm sure people kind of know Mute and the like, but they don't always see the actual physical thing, because just like read it online. So let me hand around a couple of these. Like Alessandro, we go back. We have a similar history, crossover. But I'm going to talk about some of the things that Mute is. Yeah, what we're up to now. So the festival's been about about libraries, but I'm coming from the perspective of a publisher. But we've got a similar set of interests, which is about readers and breaking down the barriers to reading. And so in Mute's case, that's about opening up the intellectual property areas. Can we move on to that slide? And another one, please. So Mute's gone through various lives. So our current strapline is we gladly feast on those who would subdue us. But over time, I think recently...
Go there.
Yeah, on the other side.
Go there. Okay. Okay, I just want to see this. We started off as digital art critique back in '94. Then it was critical information services, and then it was culture and politics after the net. So I think you can see the move through time, how Mute as an editorial group has reacted to its environment. And I suppose out of the three things that make up Mute as an editorial project, of the artistic, the hacker culture, and the political, as much as anything, kind of political has moved to the fore. Can we move on? And so the Hybrid Publishing Consortium, this is what I'm here to talk about. This is, I think, the important thing to share that's new, and yeah, it's great to be here with the cyber librarians. So its origins have been about the fact that Mute has been an experimenter in technology too. We kind of grew up with the open source community, tried to implement various things over time as a small group, and they're always trying to figure out, well, the readers have moved, readers have, zines have died, the internet, the web happened, people have moved more and more onto the web, and so Mute's always kind of, like any publisher, or like some publishers, trying to catch up with that. So we really started this project back in 2007 with Constance, who are a group based in Belgium that look at open source design. And what it's really looking at is, how does a magazine publisher or book publisher do multi-platform publishing? So that means go to ebook, go to PDF, go to print on demand, go into open education resources, libraries, but the library element is the distribution of metadata element. And looking at some of the, and as under the Hybrid Publishing Consortium, looking at some of the problems that publishers are facing. Like, quite often or not, they don't know how to do multi-platform publishing. Their workflows have been set up for print. If you do go and look for things to make ebooks and say make a PDF and for example make an app, you create 3 new workflows of software that probably isn't that good. So there are real problems here for the publishers. So this is what the consortium is up to. Can we? Thank you. And yeah, I suppose 2 things that means after us leading up to this, we moved into print on demand in 2005. We look at the single source issue in 2007. We're going around trying to get the idea off the ground. 2012, we actually moved forward with a company called L-Shift, who are very expert, 30-person strong team of programmers, very advanced, in making a first go at a multi-platform conversion system. So what we first of all looked at was just making ebooks, and it was a kind of engineering test in a way. That then leads up to, this was before I put on my second hat of being at Ljubljana, which happened in May. And so this is when the Hybrid Publishing Consortium can start to become something that can function as a consortium. So we can move on a slide, please. So how, what is it doing? What's the consortium doing? How's it organised? What's it up to? It's part of one digital lab at Ljubljana University. There's a series of them. It has 25 members, and it has a number of different projects running within that. So there's addressing open access academic publishing, looking at the new form of the university press. What will that be? Looking at some elements of lifelong learning, or what might be called open education resources, and my area, which is, I suppose, the software that might underpin those different places or communities you might deal with in terms of content production, publishing. Of course, open access. I'm sure people are quite aware of the situations there, but one stark figure of how the corporate sector has had control over academic journal output is, for example, Reed Elsevier's journal's profits per year, which are apparently 725 million euros profit per year. So there's something kind of going wrong there, and there has been this year what they call the academic spring, which is to kind of go against that. So I think there were 12,000 plus academics who said, no, we won't have anything to do with Elsevier anymore. Also coming from a background of Mute and small publishers and being in the small publishing community, we're there to work with the independent publishers as well. So there's a different set of kind of concerns. We can move on. As I said, like how we organise what we're doing. The consortium is the idea that we would look to work with lots of different partners. Well, we don't look to originate the open source projects ourselves. We look to go and work with different specialists in different areas and different academic groups and different standards bodies and different companies. And this is in part because of, this is my one kind of scribble I made to try and make a periodic table and ordering and understanding of the publishing process, what are the standards, what are the processes, what are the different ways in which reading, for example, is changing, annotation, to try and figure out what we need to deal with. And as you can see, this is just one view of it, and it's complex, and this is only just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you. So the things we're actually, so we're looking at this field, looking at these issues. It's got a good amount of resource behind it. But the need for the consortium is that it's just even much bigger than that. I mean, archive.org does its thing, and there's, I'm sure that, as we all know, there's plenty more archiving things to be done. But the two concrete things is, one for independent publishers. Publishers are always still in this kind of quandary about, well, they want readers, but they need incomes, but the kind of genie's out of the bottle, and in terms of them, and I suppose the economy and the situation It's also hugely changed in terms of disappearances of bookstores, monopolies that go on, the control of sales places. So we're advocating to smaller publishers that they take an open intellectual property look at things, well, an approach from the beginning. So just have things out there, and then try to find other ways to make your revenues. Now, so a couple of examples that we look to combine that have done this in the publishing areas. One is Flat World Knowledge. So this is a commercial publisher that publishes US community college textbooks. But it does it, they're free to use online, they're free to use in different formats, but then institutions pay, say, 20% of what they would have paid, you know, to the normal commercial price for the mass licenses to the books. Then combined with another example, which is a really great use of ePub3 by a Japanese-American company called Books in Browsers, and do a really nice rendering. So I suppose the nice rendering in ePub3 means you can actually keep some of the typographic qualities of print, unlike current ebooks, which, you know, have just thrown everything out the window and just left you with a few meager elements. So these are things that we look to, these are projects that we're just about to start. I mean, these plans have been in gestation for a lot of time, but they now really start, and we can take the work from L-Shift and Mute and other people from before, and hope, and this will be sitting on a series of open source projects. The other element is in the open access academic publishing. You have, I mean, you know, very, okay, so the main journal publishing system is Open Journal System. Now that has 11,000 journals publishing with it, and it's a great system. It generates, it's very good at metadata, but what it is really a workflow system. It handles the academic peer review process to say, okay, you've got these comments, got to this edit stage, but what it doesn't do is touch the document. It doesn't do the conversion of the document. It doesn't generate your ebook, your PDF, your app, or data streams. So we would look to plug in really this feature of what we call single source, multi-platform conversion into something like OJS. OMS is their open monograph system, which is only a couple of months old now. OJS has been in use for quite a number of years. So these are the two things we're looking to act on at the moment. Can we go to the next slide, please? I think some things to say about publishing, and I think this also kind of reflects some of the things we've seen over the course of the last few days about reading and transformations that are going on. Like this evening when we were seeing earlier on back at Seabrook HAIP, we were seeing the new forms of reading, of kind of reading in the page. Also, things are changing for the publishing, so it's not just a case of swapping out a printer, a paper printer, and putting on a multi-platform set of printing. It's that the publishing process changes itself. So we can see that time's hugely reduced. These aren't book sprints. Book sprints are for manuals and things that are maybe more programmatic. But the time period is hugely reduced. I've done like comparisons to the commercial cost. The reason that a lot of small publishers can't, a lot of the kind of things we're talking about do exist in the commercial realm. But a publisher would have to pay something like 5,000 euros per user license for these types of things. So that's just, you know, it's outside the economy of the small publisher. And also a thing about publishers is actually they don't know what people read. They really don't know anything about what people read of their titles. They don't know, and the only thing they know is that they get a sales figure about 6 months later that tells them that they sold this many copies. That's changing. You know, with e-readers and obviously with just kind of normal web analytics, but you know, the Kindle has its WhisperNet. It's not just giving you files; it's getting data on where you read, what you read. Yeah, it's getting this kind of this image of your this reading graph. But there are useful things out of that for publishers to inform them about how and what they're going to publish, so they're just not their limited knowledge, I suppose, carrying on as they were. So these are some of the kind of I suppose changes we see happening to publishing. And I think, in fact, I will kind of end it there because I had a bunch of examples, but we don't really need to see them. So I think, I suppose to kind of conclude, I think you can see, I would like to kind of advocate to, it's already happening, in the academic world it's already happening because the academics are turning around and going, well hang on, you paid for this twice and it's still not ours and no one can read it. So the academics are on board and are moving to an open intellectual property environment. Publishers, it's more difficult for, but yeah, I think where we kind of looked at interface with the library project is really just to be getting those publishers to be putting the stuff straight in the public library and not have to have this circumvention going on. Okay, so I'll leave it there. Thank you.